After over 25 years of marriage, we've learned that successful couples have great friendships, put each other first, and focus on light just as much as love. We believe marriage should be fun and easy.
Our goal is to share our journey with the hopes of helping others build strong, happy relationships. Join us as we continue to create our lives beyond I do.
We are not marriage counselors, nor are we mental health professionals. We're just simply sharing y'all how we navigated through our marriage. Now, on with the show. All right, we'd like to welcome you back to another episode of the Beyond I Do podcast. We have with us our special guest, Mr. Sanal Bhanu Rajan. He is a spiritual teacher, international speaker, revolutionary thought leader, and founder of Spiritual Logic.
Thank you for joining us. We are so thankful to have you. I will say, since our interview, we have been thinking back to the images that we could see from the window, and we've been very jealous.
Yep.
Look at that.
Oh, there you go.
Beautiful.
See.
That's what we were looking forward to. That we're cold, and so
you guys need to, life is short. Need to do the things that you want to do.
Say that again for him, please.
I think he already knows that some part of him is just simply catching up to it. That's all.
Thank you, because all parts of me are waiting patiently. We're waiting patiently, all of me. But
so the first question I need to ask you is to make sure that if we decide to come to Thailand, we got somewhere to lay our head. That's all I need.
Of course.
Hey, where you're living, we can sleep outside. I'm fine with that.
This is like.
Go ahead. No, please tell me.
No. No, I'm saying like this is as good as it gets at this point, because you got every little piece there. The safety piece, the freedom piece, the no violence piece,
right?
And,
right.
And just overall, like no uncertainties, and the roads are not thickly overcrowded or something.
Mm-hmm.
And
right.
It's just nice. And of course, you get like 2 months of summer, but then again, it's just 2-3 months.
Right.
Of summer, and you have AC and stuff. It's just during the day. And definitely there is something there, something magical in the air.
Right.
And it's funny that you say that, because when we talked after we met with you and we've talked about you since, we feel there's a calm and there's a peace that just transcends the internet and everything.
Yep.
If you would tell us a little bit about what you do, and then maybe we can learn how to bring some of that to us.
Mm-mm.
Where we are till we get to that point.
So I grew up in India, raised in a family who had like strong spiritual foundation. Mm-hmm. So I started doing mantras and doing prayers and stuff like when I was really young. I don't know how young I was, probably 4 or 5 should be the case. And we traveled a lot. We traveled a lot to spiritual destinations. So there was a lot of vacations happening. It's just like not the kind of vacations that usually people would be taking.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So it had like a complete purpose. And the purpose was never leisure. It was to go to a spiritual place and praying. That was the purpose. So it would always kind of making me these big travels, but we would not be like sightseeing around after we reach the place or something. We had like a very specific spot we're gonna invest most of our time in.
How did you feel about that as a child?
I didn't feel much about it because I kind of just followed what they did. And it's kind of, it's not like I can just kind of do the stuff by myself and kind of, it's not that age where you kind of seek independence and freedom by your own or something, kind of like the safety and like having your familiar people around and do do what they do or something like that, not like to go out of the way. So I just kind of did what they did. And there were moments in these kind of spiritual temples and stuff where I would kind of sit, not the peak moments where I'm standing in front of the idol or something, not like that, but when I'm just kind of, maybe we are kind of, everything is kind of finished, we are winding down, we're going to go back to our place where we are staying, before we come back again, later. Just like there are specific times when things happen. So I started noticing, like I started feeling really whole and connected, like a sense of satisfaction that for which I didn't have particular reasons, logical reasons why. And that's how I just first started noticing this sort of meditation kind of states, I would say, but without really any overt ideas about it. But it's kind of like these kind of places, there's a lot of people coming, they have having a certain, they're doing a lot of austerities and practices and everything. So you kind of tap into it, I think that's the purpose why we go to these kind of places anyway, where people come with a certain mindset, a certain energy, and we can kind of tap into that. So then later on I became an adult and I just started doing meditation on my own, just kind of learned the ropes of it, and I just kind of realized, okay, this is just the same stuff I used to feel, way back then. So it's not really, so it was more like a recognition. So this is what it's, what the meditation is about. So I kind of like, I never did it formally, but I just kind of realized that connected the dots, so to speak.
Right.
And then I traveled to Himalayas, and I met non-dual masters who are teaching this path of non-duality. I came back from there, took the inspiration as far as my career goes, that this is what I want to do, but I was not really so fond of it because I didn't find it so practical or applicable per se, I kind of like not so connected to the way real life or the practical life that's kind of happening in here. So it's like, everything is one. We are all ones. And how do I go from there? This kind of stuff. So I need more stuff that I can make use of, utilize in the moment. I kind of was like, okay, all this kind of stuff that's out there is kind of really outdated in one sense because it's just closed systems. People who created the system, they are no more here anymore, and nobody really did anything on top of it. So it's just like operating systems that are not really updated at this point. So we need an updated operating system that we can plug in and which is more functional and fitting to the environment in which we are living right now. So that was kind of like the ideology behind the whole thing. Okay. So then I kind of started creating the stuff. So there were certain things, criteria that I took into consideration, like the fact that most of the spiritual practices requires you to do that exactly, practice, and a lot.
Right.
And that requires time. And we all have time is kind of a tricky thing at this point.
Right.
People have all sort of engagements happening. Plus on top of that, the grind for money, that takes time.
Right.
So on top of all of that, so that's why people like Osho, they said meditation is the biggest luxury. So people who have ample time in their hand.
Right.
And they have their survival things met, their needs met, their wants met, and they're in a place where oh, you know what? I realize, even if I get what I want, I'm not going to be happy. But you need to be in a certain place in order to reach there, right?
Right. You have to have the stuff and realize it.
Yeah. So, when people would interview or so they would ask, like, hey, you seem to have a reputation that you're a rich man's guru, and why is that? And then he would be like, yeah, it's kind of easy with them because they already know, it doesn't work. So I don't have to convince them. So they're already on page with me.
Right.
And with the poor people, it's just difficult because they are not going to believe me.
Right.
They're gonna still believe, like, if they get what they want, finally get that through paying that other thing, and I'm gonna be happy. He doesn't know me.
Right.
Right. So you're gonna put up all of these ideas anyway. So
with kids, I teach teenagers. And so they're, they can't wait until they're an adult, and I can't wait until I'm out of school and I'm an adult. And it's because they don't realize that once you cross over into adulthood, the level of responsibility and everything increases. Meanwhile, I'm thinking, I wish I could switch places with you all.
I remember every step. It was like, okay, growing up in the States, it was like, okay, all right, I can't wait to go play across the street. All right, now I'm playing across the street. Now I can't wait to leave the neighborhood. Now I can't wait to get a bicycle and leave the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. Now I can't wait to drive. Once I started driving, now I can't just step after step after step, and then it's like
exactly
placing, and it's like, well, what's next?
Right.
What's next?
Right.
And once I started working in my career, my job, it's like, well, okay, now I've achieved this amount of success in my work field, but where's the happiness? And then now I'm looking at it like, you know what? Now I'm looking back at life, and like time was the key factor that I missed out on.
Right.
So it's
yeah, and how we choose to spend our time, because that's going to show up in our life later on in a different way.
Exactly.
As far as the things that we have in our life, the having part of life.
So what do you do? What do you tell someone who is, and I think that's part of the crossroads where we are now, is that we're realizing the importance of time, the value of time, but we also understand that we have to eat. And so it's like this vicious cycle. So how do you get to a place of that peace and that comfort, still knowing that you want something that's just out of reach?
Well, hell, I see it. You live where he lives. I mean, he's walking beaches and stuff with shirt open and shorts, and he's just, you live there. That's the key right there.
Well, let's go. Said it and it's recorded.
I was going to say something, but I kind of lost the track because I
apologize. I'm silly like that. I'm sorry.
No. That is okay. We create with what comes up. So it's just like, the thing is, you never get to know whether the choice is right or wrong.
You're right.
Right.
You never get to know. It's like Steve Jobs saying, you cannot connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards, and you just have to trust that the dots will connect in the future, because there is no guarantees in life that all the dots are going to connect and you're going to just see, now I see everything was connected. No, there is no guarantees. Sometimes you may never get to know.
Right. Right.
And you just have to trust the dots will connect. So you just have to have the attitude that I create with what comes up. You see?
Right.
I see.
That's the thing. Right. So because you never get to know. So then you'll be in an arrest. You'll be in a paralysis. I call it a paralysis of analysis.
Yes.
I completely relate to that. I don't like the unknown, and I want to
the unfamiliar.
Right. I want to try and think of any problem that could happen and have a plan in place, and that I end up being stagnant, because you cannot in any way predict every single thing that could happen and create a plan for it. So I can relate.
No. The thing is, life, so to speak, is more of how it's a course correction.
Mm-hmm.
The nature of it is course correction and constant adjustment. Constant adjustments, because we are dealing with something that is complex and dynamic and emergent in nature. The life situations emerge, and the interdependencies and the interconnected factors can be, maybe we know it, maybe we don't know it. Still, we are working with emerging scenarios. You see, so when we are working with something like this, we cannot have. It's kind of like you going through that under a small bridge. How the boat steers, man steers the boat. So you need to constantly make that course correction. You cannot just make one move and I'm gonna just kind of wait and just see where it goes. And fuck, and I came and hit the wall now.
Right.
you gotta have to constantly make a small adjustment and see the adjustment that you made. How is it? Is it really taking you closer to where you want to go in relation to that? Is it taking you further away from it? And you make further adjustments if it's taking further away. So that, and then you make still you assess and see. So, but you always need to have an outcome in the mind, otherwise you cannot make the course correction.
Right. I see. And that's the thing. The outcome is it's still your desired outcome. You just may have a different route to get there.
You need to first have like an absolute clarity on what is it that I want.
Mm-hmm.
That's the key thing. What is it that I want, and how would I be as a person when I have that?
Yes.
Right.
That's the key piece, because you need to connect to that energy.
Yeah.
It's not about who you would be, it's about how you would be. How is always about energy, feeling, the state that you are in, So how would I be as a person when I have this outcome realized? Right. So you need to have an absolute clarity on that. Now, the third element is, what does it really mean being that person? Being this person and moving forward in life, what does it really mean to me? So that's connecting to the value. So you have three things aligned: the outcome, the state, the energy, and the third thing, the value. So once you have a clarity on these three things and it's aligned, it's congruent, now you get to move through like a laser. Otherwise, your energy is all scattered. Right. Like a 5-volt light bulb, it's just scattered and you don't get to achieve much with it. But a 2.7 volt laser is enough to just kind of send the laser beam to the moon and come back. So once you have these three things aligned, then you have congruence and alignment in your life. Then that means you can achieve a lot of things without having to spend a lot of energy. It's about effective use of the energy that you have. So you want to have congruence in order to achieve that,
With the congruency, with those three things in line, how do I get to that place? How do I get there? And how do I stay there at least most of the time?
Yeah, so for example, this is like, first of all, having clarity. Like, for example, outcome is just about having a clarity in the mind, right? It has nothing to do with anything else. So the thing is, once you have an outcome clear in your mind or in your brain, let's just say, what happens is that there is a system in place in brain called reticular activation system, RAS in short, we can call it. So this system is there to spot opportunities so that you can realize the outcome that you have set in your mind. Right. But literally the brain cannot do that if you don't give it an outcome.
Okay.
Right.
So giving the outcome allows the brain to start spotting opportunities in the environment and in different scenarios that you find yourself in that can help you realize those outcomes. So that's why having an outcome focus is very important when it comes to anything that you're dealing with in any area of your life. Just having like, okay, what is it that I really want with this thing?
Right.
And then the second is about connecting to that state. Connecting to that state, it's about like being inspired. Like that's the fuel. That's the fuel that's going to keep you moving forward, And you need to ask a question like, okay, how would I be as a person once I have this with me? Once I have this outcome realized, how would I be as a person? And if that outcome is really a genuine thing that you want, you probably can feel some sort of an activation within you. It's called synesthesia, because it aligns with your values. So you can aesthetically can feel it inside, like some part of you just coming alive, getting excited, getting inspired, getting motivated, So you can, and then you're going to ask yourself the question, how can I grow and expand this feeling? You see, you're not going to just let that feeling be like, oh yeah, that's a nice feeling. No, it's about how can I really. So you're literally asking yourself, what is it that I can do within my power to grow and expand this feeling? That's a very different sort of attitude and a mindset you're bringing to the table. So you're literally asking that. So your brain is going to get all revved up. Because you're also connected to the feeling, and actively every day you're doing something to make that feeling grow. You're not discounting it. You're not getting stuck into let me just go and do all the stuff that's going to get me all those things that I want to have. No, you're not simply doing that. You're also getting connected to the being part of it. That's the process, the being, doing, having. Being, doing, having. It's the process, and the process cannot get stuck. So when it gets stuck, it's stagnated. So usually the Western burnout cycle is people go into doing and the having and the doing and the having and the doing and the having, and then they do more to sustain what they have, but what they have is not a good fit anymore in their life.
Right.
So at that point, it becomes a matter of letting go of what you have so that you can be in a different way and create new things and do different things and create better things that's going to fit better in your life. But that's a deeper topic, I guess.
So like, if I'm understanding you correctly, it's like growing up in Western culture, we've been marketed for our entire lives that you can get this certain thing and you'll be happy. You have this certain job or this certain career, be happy. A home, a car.
Teachers focus on having. You have that, you're going to be happy. Or they're going to tell you, you just come and tell to the parents or the teacher, like, I messed up, I did a mistake. And then they're going to be asking you, like, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
It's about like the focus is either given to the doing part or what you must have part.
Right.
Yes.
But how do you want to be? That's not really.
We even have TV shows like called The Have and the Have Nots. It's like, you have or you don't have. But I think the general concept is like, okay, once you have it, and we've learned this, like you work hard and then you get the thing that you desired. And once you have it, it's like, okay, well, I got it. Now I'm used to it. So after that I need something next now.
Or something next, or maybe what you have is not even like sustainable.
Right.
You now have to do more.
Right.
To sustain what you have, because you're not attached to what you have.
And you know what is, I've heard it over and over from different, so I know this is what I needed to hear, but that being piece, that being piece is what has been missing. And having to focus on that is difficult from time to time when you have the have and the do. But if the have,
you guys have several things at this point, so many things on so many spheres that you have done so many things to have them, and now it's there, and now there is varied levels of attachment to these things that you have, but you cannot be in a different way, because the thing is, if you get stuck in the have part, like, oh no, I love what I have, and I cannot let go of what I have, and it's everything to me, and you get stuck. Now you cannot be in any different way because you got stuck with all that. So the process has to continue so that stagnation doesn't occur. It's a process. It's a process of renewal. The being, doing, and so the being will kind of bring all that inspiration and everything to move you in the direction of kind of doing, and all that willingness and determination and everything that comes with it, that
and then you have that doing energy and the sustaining energy, and you're going doing a lot of stuff, and then you have something happen at some point, like you have something.
Right.
So when you talk about the outcome, the desired outcome, there again, because of the society that we live in, a lot of times that desired outcome is something material.
Yeah.
But it seems like there's so much more to what you're saying. So when you talk about outcome, what is it that you're talking about? What are you describing when it's outcome?
No, outcome can be something in the world itself. But the point is it aligned with your values?
Okay.
Right.
You see, is it aligned with your values, or is it coming from a desperation, from a neediness, from some sort of a fear, from some sort of insecurity? You're like, oh, I want this. Why do you want this? Because I'm afraid so and so is going to happen. Like, you see, then it's like misguided in that sense. It's not something that makes you come alive in life, not something that inspires you. It's just like coming out of a different place, you know? So the outcome, that's why I'm saying, it's about connecting to that energy. So if you cannot connect to that energy, then you know there's something wrong with it. You need to maybe reassess the outcome. Is that what I really want? You know, I'm really questioning it. Because if it is really what you want, then you're going to have some sort of a synesthesia, a kinesthetic feeling happening right in that moment. You're going to come alive to the moment in some particular way when you're thinking, imagining, having realized that outcome. It's going to give you of some thought. If you're not having that, maybe then you can maybe go back and look at the outcome again. Like, is that what I really want? What I truly want, you know, and sit with it a little bit more time. Yeah.
So we just had this conversation with one of our children, and he's stuck in the, I will feel this way when I have this. So
that's the thing.
And and I keep telling him, no, it's you have to have the feelings first. Even in telling him that, though, I get frustrated from time to time, and that feeling is hard. It's hard to pull that up when everything outside of me doesn't match that. So what are some things that we can do in those times when I want to feel good, but everything around me seems to work against me?
So the thing is, you need to understand, why does he really want that? The values that is connected to that. You know, don't be, if you kind of try to appeal to him from your values and you're trying to push your values to him, it's not going to work. You need to be able to step into his values first, you know, so then he feels heard, he feels understood. Then he would be willing to see, okay, you know, seems she understands me, so she gets me. So yeah, maybe I can just, you know, seems like she's totally on base, so she totally get me. So I think I can consider this. But if you don't really get him, it's like, how can you consider? She don't really get me. She don't understand why is this important to me. You know, she's like all in her mind, like thinking, well, that's what's important or something like that. So you kind of clashing. So you kind of have to get in page. It has to be a cooperation. You know, when two people work together, things happen fast. And one person is kind of forcing on that, other person is kind of like resisting or something. Hard for things to happen. You know? So you kind of need to tell him, you know, I'm on page with you. You know, let's just work together on this. You know, I really want to get you. So how would you really be as a person? You know,
and what do I say to myself when the feelings are not there, but I know, you know, like that frustration.
Yeah. And also the thing is, there is a lot of places that you can kind of maneuver, or you can put your feet in and can influence the cycle, because you can either, the thing is, everything is connected. The physiology is connected, the state is connected, the perception, the whole thing is connected. So you can change any sort of thing. A simple stuff, you can even change the physiology by just simply unclenching the jaw, you know, as simple as that. Because usually by that time that frustration and everything kicks in, you can feel probably like some sort of a kind of fatigue and
Yeah.
like, oh my god, I'm just kind of really
Yep. That's me on most days by about 3 p.m.
Yeah, so you can just kind of unclench the jaw, like instead of like do this, like as soon as you do that, like there is a sudden shift because the vagus nerves get activated. The vagus nerve is responsible for sending oxygen to all the organs within the body. So as soon as you activate the vagus nerve, you suddenly feel a need to take more oxygen into your system because vagus nerve is literally like start getting activated and sending oxygen. So then guess what? So there is a sudden shift in breathing that happens as a natural extension of you unclenching the jaw. It kind of feels even suffocating if you're not taking deeper breaths after you unclench the jaw. So the second thing you can do is to kind of relax the tongue, the back of the tongue, like that. That part, not under, but the back. Yeah. But once you unclench, it's a satiation response. So it immediately activates the parasympathetic nervous system, So all of a sudden now you have your vagus active. So all of a sudden there is a shift of breathing. And plus you can consciously just breathe, like taking like a 1:2 ratio of breathing. That's going to stimulate your brain stem. So this is all kind of neurological hacks, easy little maneuvers that you can do in the moment, sudden shift of states, physiology, everything happening, right away. So you can just kind of do this all in an order. So first you unclench the jaw, then you relax the back of your tongue. Because it's a satiation response, there will be a complete diminishing of self-talk. Internal stuff, yeah.
I need that.
Yes.
So you can just simply relax the back of the tongue, like as much as possible. So, and you can notice that immediately. It's kind of hard to kind of think a lot with that.
Yeah.
So just like, so you can do the unclenching, the tongue stuff, and then the third can be 1:2 breathing. So that means if I'm taking like a 3-second inhale, like, so that's like 6-second exhale.
Okay.
3-second basic inhale. So through the nose and exhale through the mouth. So exhale through the mouth because the mouth, as you're exhaling through the mouth, more of your brain gets activated because of the air that's felt through the lips.
So that kind of whole mind, body, connect.
Yeah, the brain, because in the brain, all these connections are there with kinesthetics and senses and stuff. So all of a sudden, you can kind of feel the breath, right? So it activates and also it makes you aware of the breath more, the exhale. If you're like exhaling through the nose, it's not so much aware. So it's a nice thing, like take a natural 3-second, not take like a long inhale, just like a small one, and just like a double. The point is you're literally changing the combination of the gas within the system, because all kind of sympathetic states, meaning frustration, panic, anxiety, all of these states, it is all related to more carbon dioxide buildup within the system than oxygen. So as soon as you start, so it's a nice thing to do. So as soon as you take this kind of breathing, you reverse the process. So that means more carbon dioxide is getting out of the system and you're taking in more oxygen.
That's kind of like when people have panic attacks, they tell them to start breathing.
Exactly. Because panic is exactly what? Well, how do they breathe just before they are panicking? They are breathing like very shallow breaths.
Right.
And then guess what? So a lot of carbon dioxide built up and a lot of restlessness comes with it. So more oxygen means more grounded down. The more carbon dioxide, you can go, kind of that stuff.
And that, with meditation and things like that, you hear about the breathing and the breath work, but I've never understood the physiological part of all of that.
These are the logical parts of it. These are the logical parts. It's actually working with as you breathe, you are activating the brain stem. And also there is something happening within the brain. Usually when we feel stress or fear, we get our, all sort of physiological processes get amplified within the system, because the amygdala, this amygdala get the message, like, okay, you can have a trigger probably, something you see and then you get frustrated, right? Something you see, you get stressed, right? Something you see and you get that fear response. So what happens is once the message just kind of goes, so there is the thalamus, that's where it reaches first. It's kind of like a relay center in our brain. So the message, the sensory, whatever it is, we hear, see, whatever it is, it just goes through our eyes and reaches the thalamus. And then from the thalamus, the signal gets sent to the amygdala. So this is the tricky part. Amygdala, when the signal, so that is a virtually immediate pathway, in the brain to go to the amygdala. So when the amygdala is kind of like an emotional center, but it doesn't store emotions. It just simply sends signal to the brainstem to amplify the physiological processes.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So heartbeat, all sort of physical, heartbeat goes up, cortisol level goes up, you're breathing, perspiration, you start getting sweaty in the palm of your hand, all that stuff happens. So all the physiological. So what we want to do, because it doesn't just simply reach amygdala, it just reaches the central nucleus of the amygdala. And when the signal reaches the central nucleus of the amygdala from the thalamus, then it just sends the signal to the brainstem to amplify the physiological responses, and then all these physiological responses get amplified and you go into some sort of a freeze response or something. And, so literally you are not thinking properly, you're not making decisions properly, nothing, you kind of like stuck, and maybe even traumatized from the experience even if you don't have much coping resources in your side. Yeah. But what we want to do is we want to kind of hijack or kind of reroute this pathway from it reaching the central nucleus of amygdala. Instead of doing that, we want it to reach the basal nucleus of the amygdala. The thing is, once a signal reaches the basal nucleus of the amygdala, it never sends the signal for amplifying physiological response to the brainstem. It just simply sends the signal directly to the cortex, the prefrontal cortex, so that we start going into memory and of similar scenario, and we assess the current scenario and we make sensible decision making and all of that stuff. So a lot of blood start going to our thinking and analytical faculty of our part, the brain, instead of we are doing essentially with this process, when you are literally doing the breathing, you're kind of like stimulating the brainstem, and then you can do something on top of it, like you can tap into your peripheral vision, like pay attention to something that is in your vision, and let your eyes rest on that, and then simply let your peripheral vision, your spacious awareness expand to the sides. Not imagining, just simply really seeing, sensing it, seeing the space around you. So in all directions. So to the sides, to the top, to the bottom, below you, in front of you, in the back of you. So you expand as much. The thing is, fear and stress, all of them kind of narrow down your focus to a very small thing. So you want to just expand it out. So as you're doing that, you are stimulating the prefrontal cortex and the brainstem. At the same time, you are also dampening amygdala, which is responsible for this signal for amplification. So you have, this is like an amazing maneuver. So you only have to practice it like few days, or like maybe 2 weeks or something. And by that time, within your brain, a chain will have formed.
Okay.
And by that time, you only have to do the first thing in the chain. The rest will naturally just follow its course, just like driving a car,
Oh, that's amazing. That is amazing.
You just have to unclench the jaw at that point, so everything kind of will.
And then everything.
You naturally the breathing. You naturally will expand your, awareness, spacious awareness, your peripheral vision. You naturally will kind of breathe different and do all sorts of stuff. You relax your tongue. Everything will naturally happen because just like it becomes goes into your brain. It's called neural priming. So you're priming your neurons to respond in a very particular chain.
Wow. Wow. So that'll cause me to change my face because I've dropped that jaw and it's like, all right, I'm getting the
No, but I think you will
nowadays.
start to love it because you will notice that you just want to start breathing like that because it's kind of feels really good to like.
Yeah.
You can kind of feel the effect like right away as you unclench the jaw, relax the tongue, and like do the breathing. You're already kind of good in a very different place, and it's just kind of so funny how it's just kind of such it take barely seconds, to tap into you through your physiology and change your state just like that.
I was gonna ask you, like, is without being in a state of, where things are revving up, would it be still beneficial to do those things just as a normal normal
Yeah,
practice?
yeah. Definitely, because this is only going to bring you more to kind of alpha level, like without you. It's kind of like a meditation technique of
Right.
sort
Okay.
with just kind of neurological hacks. Your neurological hacks can be lined up to just simply present it as a meditation technique, but we are literally tapping into the neurology of peace, of calmness, of being at relaxation, because that's the maneuvers we are doing with the brainstem, with the parasympathetic nervous system, with the vagus nerve being activated. All of this is kind of promotes well-being, and it's just kind of it just be the way things are supposed to be if you are feeling good. If you are having a good time, this is how things must be working at that point.
Wow.
So,
man, you just unloaded a lot, man. That's
I know. I'm kind of wondering whether you guys asked enough about the relationship.
Yeah, I was thinking in my head, like, how are we gonna turn this to a relationship? Because I don't even care about relationship.
We're not. That's where I was going. We're not, because we kind of flip-flopped it, and I love where we ended up.
Yeah.
I want to wrap that up, and then maybe we can, for the let's discuss it, we'll just flip it.
Yeah, we'll flip it. Yeah.
But for listeners and for myself, for those of us who are feeling that pull, I'm here. I know that this is happening and it has to happen, but I want to be here, and I know that that's where I'm going to feel my best. What is it that, like, what tangible things do we do to start getting to that place where we want to be?
No, the first tangible thing I would say is to always build in a certainty of your own competence in life, because you're always going to be attached to the forms that you have created, because you're like, oh, I don't know whether I can do it again. I don't know, if that's the kind of thing. I don't know whether I can create a better thing. So then that's how people stay in abusive relationship. I don't know whether someone else will choose me, or some sort of insecurities, and they kind of just keep at it. They hoard that one, no matter how dysfunctional it is, and they can see it's not serving them in life, so they kind of stay with it. So that's the thing. So you just have to know, whatever happens, I'm okay.
Right.
It's very simple.
It is. Oh, it's simple.
It's simple, and I create with what comes up. See, so these two easily going together.
I like that.
Create with what comes up. So anything can come up, but I'll create with it. That's the attitude I'm bringing. I'm like, oh my God, I hope things are going to like happen like that. Otherwise, I just cannot handle it. Like, of course, I'm not gonna do very well if things don't go that particular way.
Right.
Yeah.
That's essentially what you have just kind of been preparing yourself to be. If something goes wrong, you have prepared yourself to be terrified and completely, like, in some sort of like a uncertainty and fear. And it's about being comfortable with uncertainty.
Right.
So that's what allows you, like, that's the key point when it comes to letting go of what you have, so that you can be in a different way. The thing is, they're holding on to what they have, so they are stuck with the way they are being also. So the cycle has to continue. So they have to let go of what they have. If they feel the need, I want to be in a different way, you have to let go of that home you have created.
Wow.
Yeah, and that can only happen if you are comfortable with uncertainty, right? And you can only be comfortable with uncertainty if you have a good enough certainty in your own capacities in creating good things with what comes up.
Wow.
Wow.
So it
Right.
gets connected
It
to
all
your
starts
own.
up here.
Yeah, it
It
all
all
starts up
starts.
here. So what are you bringing to the world? Are you bringing in, oh, me, the poor me, I cannot handle anything, me, or me, the one who can handle what I can create with what comes up, and whatever happens, I'm okay.
I like
I
that.
create good things with what comes up, and I love doing that. You see, that's what the story you're bringing up. It's about what you're bringing to the world. That matters. So some people bring in a lot of victimhood, a lot of powerlessness to the world. Then you're going to have to create with that stuff,
Right.
with the world.
Right. And definitely as the victim, you're not creating. You're
No.
reacting. So
No, it's like you're like, oh, the world is bearing itself upon me, and I cannot handle it. It's too much. I'm
right.
drowning. That's the thing. So of course, the thing is, there is always this happening. The world is always going to be bearing itself upon you, and you are going to bear yourself upon the world. The whole point of mastery over yourself is that your ability to bear yourself upon the world is more than the world's ability to bear itself upon you.
Yep.
Right. So that's essentially controlling your destiny, controlling your world.
I would say that you being in your power to choose, because control is an illusion. We don't really have control in a complex system. In any kind of real complexity and dynamic system, control becomes like the most. But what we have effectively is varied levels of power and influence over matters.
Okay.
So power is your ability to make a difference. Don't mistake me. I'm not speaking about some power trip. Speaking about your ability to make a difference in anything, that's you having power with it. Yeah.
Okay. You have to forgive my Western terminology because
yeah, I know.
This is all I know right now.
Control, usually when people speak about control, it has to do with having very specific outcome achieved.
Yes, okay. That's true.
You see? So, and also when I was speaking about outcome, it is so important for you to realize the value that you are getting from why is it important for you being that person, however you would be as a person. Maybe it's I would be the most free self of mine, the most confident of me. And then, okay, what is really important about being this confident me and moving forward in life? What does that really mean? So when you connect to that value, when you connect to that feeling, that also frees you up to realize that value in a variety of different ways in the world, rather than stuck with one outcome that is probably, let's just say you made an impossible outcome in your head or something, then you don't want to be stuck with it.
Right.
You like, let's just say if it is about love, then there is varieties of ways I can realize that love in the world. As opposed to, oh, I just want this, but I don't connect to that love part of it. It's about love, actually. Then I'm like stuck with that. I'm like always I'm thinking of doing whatever it takes to just get to there, having that, but I'm kind of disconnected from the aspect of, okay, it's about love, really. It's not really about the outcome, even. It's really about, that's what it's really about, So once you have that bigger perspective, it allows you to see, even if the outcome you might even change the outcome once you're really connected to your values.
Right. That's an important thing too, is that change and that shift and being able to accept it and go with it. That's something else that once I get fixated on something, I have to remind myself that I can change my mind and it's okay.
Yep.
And also we get stuck and attached to our values too. We form these values. We form values, right? It's not there from as we are at birth or something. So
Right.
we form these values by doing some things and doing several things, and we at one point these values are really formed. And once it's formed, we get identified with it. We get attached to it, But maybe the environment has changed, and that value is not a perfect fit for your life anymore, even.
Right.
But you're still kind of attached to it. So because of it, you're kind of struggling. So then it's about letting go the attachment to that value also. But values are also things that you have, so think in that terms.
Right.
There are also things that you can let go and form so that you can be in a different way and do different things and form new values,
There was, I saw something online earlier today that said just because you were taught something as a child and you were raised a certain way, it doesn't mean that it's true. Doesn't mean that it works for you as an adult. So that's another thing, is just having to dial back some of those things and then begin to build up the person, the desired outcome. So
yeah, definitely. So it's just you have to do quite a lot of internal reflection on stuff. It's not so much about doing, and it's much about being connected to these kind of stuff inside, being connected to the feeling, connected to the value, connected to the outcome, and having a clarity on these things, having these kind of neurological hacks in your hand, knowing, we are working with complex, dynamic, emergent phenomena called life, and there is no right or wrong way to do it.
right. And that's
And we will never know. We just have
right.
to trust that we will create with what comes up. So that allows us to let go of control, let go of this need for things to be in very particular way, and frees us in essentially.
Right.
Frees us. Because you are like having a more of a freeing attitude. You have an attitude like, you know what, however it is, it doesn't matter. I will create with whatever comes up. Just
that middle part is what's hard, though.
Yes.
Being comfortable and confident. You talked about confidence earlier, to be able to get to that other side and say, you know what, this is for me. This is who I am. So,
you can just say, you know what, I am choosing to be that in me, who, is choosing to believe so and so. You get it? You can carve in a new personal narrative. I am done with this. I don't say this about me anymore. I don't describe myself in this way anymore. And I'm choosing to describe myself in this way.
right.
And you stick to it.
Love it.
You see, because it's always, you can create yourself. Like whenever we say, oh, I am not so strong like that, or I am weak, I cannot do that. It's just all kind of self-defeating talk, that we use to kind of really talk ourselves out of things and stuff like that. You definitely can. And especially you can choose to commit.
That's
right?
hard, but I'm at the point where committing is getting easier because the outcome is even more desirable. So, but that's the difficult part.
When that hard, you can challenge the mind by asking, so what is it that I can do to make it easy? You see? Because it's easy to conclude. It's easy to just make like, how do you really know it's hard? How do I truly know it's hard? You don't really know.
We don't.
You don't really know. But the mind, once it's made, that's hard. That's hard. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Forget that. So just like that. So you let it go. But you don't question that. You don't question that idea that mind comes up. Oh, that's hard. Oh, why do you think that?
Right.
The other one is not a fact, but this one is.
But the thing is, like in the Western world, we've been taught that in order to achieve something, you have to work hard. You work hard for things that you
Play hard, work hard, play
like.
hard.
Initially, you think hard, so this is something I want. It's going to be hard and it's going to be difficult automatically before you even start planning. You just know that it's going to be difficult, and that's kind of like the mindset that we've had to.
Yeah, you start missing out on all sort of opportunities because you are looking for it to be really difficult.
Right.
So you're not going to probably look for any sort of easy hacks. You're always going to be your attitude. Like, no, it's going to be like that easy. You need to be looking something else.
And we've been taught that. We've been taught that, well, if you get it easy, you won't appreciate it or you won't keep it. So we've been taught that, and those things are, ingrained in us, and it's hard to break that.
Well, when Rockefeller created the education system, he already told his intention was to create a workforce.
Yes,
not a generation.
Absolutely.
I was telling the guy at work the other day, I said, the funny thing about it is, when you look at the grading system in school, everybody, let's say it's 200 kids graduated from that high school class. Everybody got their diploma. The valedictorian who had the 4.0 and the C student who had the 2.5, they still got the diploma. And, once you get into the real world, it's like, well, that valedictorian status, that didn't really matter, so to speak. It was just about the choices that each individual made.
Exactly. Exactly. And also in schools, they never teach you about money. That's so funny. Because everything is revolving around it.
Like the most important thing you need, like we didn't know how to balance a checkbook. We didn't learn the basics of money, and it was like you learn
how to hustle money, how to hack money. There's no classes like that. Okay, then they should be teaching. Money is debt. You just cheat the system. You start taking loans out. You don't go and buy liabilities. They don't teach any of that. You save money. Why would I save money when the bank is already lending the money to my own dollar is being lent to 10 people? Then it's just depreciating. Why should I be saving money? So it's everything. Everything is like the system is not there to make everyone work well.
Not at all. Not at all.
And also Rockefeller said he wouldn't ever want to have the 100% money earned from his efforts. He would rather be happy with 1% money earned from everyone's efforts. You see?
Which there you go.
Man, you said a mouthful on that one. My God.
So that is it shows the attitude, and he said we want to create a workforce, It's not like thinkers. If everyone start thinking and innovating, that's not going to serve the enterprise, And he put a lot of money, hundreds of millions of dollars, and set up the whole system in place. He was kind of serious about all that.
Yes.
Not joking around.
And I've talked to people, and I'm like, and I've told all my children, life is all about decisions, and it's just one decision after the next, and it becomes at the end of the day, what is more important to you? Is it having $100,000 sitting in the bank, or is it, time with your family, time with your children? Because I've known no one who has died and taken anything with them, even the clothes deteriorate, in the casket. So it's like people.
That's also another thing. For some people, they will be really happy with just taking care of their children and providing for them and giving them a good life. But that's not the case for everyone unless that aligns with their highest value. For someone, family can be their highest value. So providing for family and being there for family is what makes them feel absolutely good about themselves, But maybe someone else, that's not the case. They have another sort of value system where family is not at the highest hierarchy. Of course, family might be there, but it is not probably the highest on the very top of it, So then, you might you cannot go into judging them on that. Why is family not enough or something like that? Because it's these things change and they don't choose. People don't choose their values.
Right.
It just kind of happens on its own. And just kind of we cannot, we have to understand. So just the case with your son, you have to understand that he has his own value system, and his values change based on the state that he is in.
Right.
The values are state dependent. So if you're really feeling shitty, and I ask you to just go write down your values now. And if you go write down, you're gonna write a completely different order than if I'm going to ask you when you're feeling absolutely good about yourself and like feeling livid about life and living and all of that, inspired about it, and I'm like, write down your values. It's gonna be a completely different thing because values change based on the state.
They do.
State dependent.
That makes
so you're going to have to make sure state that he is in. You cannot just simply push on whatever value that you think is the best, that you think he should follow. It's not gonna work. First, you probably want to find his value in the moment,
definitely,
and connect to that, and then so that he can get it. Like, okay, I can maybe open up to her and try on this value and see. But first, you have to meet them where they are. Any kind of pushing is not gonna, like, when they are speaking about something, you cannot just diminish. That, but you want to do that. That's not gonna help, because probably that's aligning with their highest value, but maybe not for you. For you, it's like, what do you want to do that? So they sense the judgment right away as soon as they say something, and you're like, they're like, oh, forget it. I don't want to tell her. She's gonna just bring this negative energy to it or something like that,
Right. That makes a lot of sense.
So you kind of want to bring in an attitude of like, just non-judgmentality, whatever, no matter what they brings up, kind of have to have the attitude, we are in this together. It's not like you trying to just change him or something,
Right.
People like working together, cooperation.
Right. Right.
Yeah, so you can tell, like, let's work on this together. Like, include me in, like, what is going on, right? So it's a different attitude. So then he might feel more inclusive of it. But if you go in with the attitude like, oh, I know what's right for you, and I'm gonna just, so you tell whatever it is, but at the end, I know what's right for you. That's the attitude. Then they can sense it also, like, I know she's not really like genuinely there. She's just simply there to just kind of simply make her point anyway to me, she's not listening.
Well, I have gained and learned and benefited so much.
Well, I wanted to ask a few questions. Okay, questions you had on your website. I just want to have a little fun to kind of close out. You know what I'm saying? According to your website, you have fun facts about Sanal, not your typical guru. And I was just looking at some of these statements you posted, and I'm like, okay, you can learn a lot about a person. So one of the things it says that you have a sister that's a doctor in the US of A.
Yeah.
Where
is she? She lives in Chicago. Yeah. She lives in Chicago. She's a doctor. So she's practicing there. As general medicine doctor. Yeah.
Okay.
And it says also you were a master at chess in your high school, and nobody could beat.
Yeah, I used to be really good, and my teacher, he kind of really encouraged my parents to kind of take me on a professional level, to national level and stuff. But that was not really in the plans. To kind of divert from high school to go for like specialized just training and like all that. They were going to always kind of follow that natural academic pathway. So I didn't really, but I was really good at it. But it really came handy because all those skills that I learned in chess, that I love, the strategies, for example, or the attitude of like planning ahead, or like seeing so many steps ahead, or seeing so many possible scenarios,
Right.
Like, not that it could happen, because in chess it's all about probabilities and possibilities you're working with. Oh, there's this sort of possible scenario. If I do that, that's possible. If I do this is possible. So it's all about looking at assessing possibilities, what can be created with certain possibilities. So I think I took in that sort of a mindset from it regarding stuff. And I kind of like looked at my whole spiritual logic thing, and it was like, okay, how do I want this to be different? and I was like, okay, all the usual stuff, it has a lot of practice involved, so I want to cut down on that. If people don't need a lot of practice to make this work, it's already like way ahead. So then I'm like looking at other stuff. Okay, what else do they don't have? They're not like so much active participation with the mind. Most of the techniques are very passive, like meditation, breathing, the witnessing, vipassana, everything. So I was like, okay, what if I created a system where it's not about passive participation, it's a complete active participation to create change in the moment. So I was kind of like looking at what I can do to just kind of top it or something like that. That was essentially what's going to make it stand out of the rest. So it was all kind of chess sort of maneuvers. Just thinking in styles.
Okay. That also says three more things, and then we can end. Now it says you love watching American TV shows. What are some of your favorite ones?
Well, I kind of watch silly ones also, like superhero ones too, because I kind of work with a lot of mental stuff, like mental psychological things.
Like Avengers type.
This kind of stuff. So then I kind of want to just kind of not having to use my mind at all sometimes. So just want to just watch nothing. I don't have to kind of think or much about, and I don't want to even feel much strong emotions or anything either. So it's kind of be even silly, just kind of like that sort of feel good kind of small.
That a lot of silliness.
I was about to say there's a lot
a lot of silliness on TV.
I'm gonna watch something like that, and I also watch movies, special movies, movies that have really good IMDb ratings, and like wait for something like that. So yeah, I watch all kind of American movies and shows and everything actually, and I don't really watch much of my native language stuff actually.
Have you seen reality TV shows like the Kardashians?
Reality TV shows, I'm not into it.
No,
that's
I don't know whether I have the time for that. That's like they're like doing their real life. I'm like, I don't know whether I have that much time.
Right. Right.
The 30-40 minutes of complete like a whole production team kind of worked on the stuff. Like, okay, that's fine. But this is like they're kind of doing their normal day stuff, and you kind of sitting and watching that.
All right, the last thing I wanted to ask you about. Last thing I wanted to ask you about, it says that you have an American wife, and you have a 3-year-old son. How did you guys meet? And explain that. And that's the last question. I wanted to say something about this hamburger, but if you want to throw that in there.
I met my wife in India, where I grew up. I grew up in a beach town in southern India. Okay. And my wife, she used to come to a spiritual guru there, kind of near in my state. And she's a big guru. Her name is Amma. She's known as the hugging saint around the world. So she comes to US also many times. She has a lot of followers. So my wife, she used to kind of go see her, spend time in the ashram, travel with her through the world tours and stuff like that. And then she came to my place for doing she was kind of doing like an ecstatic dance, not even doing, just also conducting, and also kind of the one who's guiding, and just she was the one architect of the process, the ecstatic dance. So it was for mainly people from the ashram, but I already had friends from the ashram who I knew from my beach town, and they kind of invited me to go to this event because we were friends, and I was giving spiritual talks and stuff there in my beach town to foreigners, to tourists already. So he was like, "Yeah, man, just why don't you come over to this event?" So I didn't know much people, but I went to the event, and then I just saw her there, but didn't speak to her or something. So after a few days, we just kind of I saw her on Facebook as a recommendation. So I guess Facebook played a role.
So you see your DMs.
There is like beauty to all this technological stuff too. Not one thing or another. It's like there's a lot of stuff. I make use of technology. I learn all the stuff that I'm talking to you guys about through technology. But then there are people who just kind of waste away their life in technology too. So it's not either technology is good or bad. It's just what you make of it. You know,
Right.
how you use.
I absolutely, I love technology and the fact that like we're speaking to you now and you know, to be able to make these contacts it's amazing. It's amazing.
It is amazing. In a way, it is like freaking amazing. Like there's no other way we would be able to talk like this, right? Like without the wonders of technology.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm not really like in for bashing technology. Technology is all bad or something.
Me?
Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that we made that tech connection.
Yes.
Look at that. That is beautiful.
Now you on the back porch?
Yeah, I'm in the front porch, like
front porch. That's beautiful. Wow, that's beautiful.
My front porch, I can show you another house.
Oh, wow. Wow. We appreciate so much you sharing with us.
Yes.
This is so much, like I said, there's so much value in what you've shared with us, and we just appreciate it. If the listeners want to learn more, if they want to find you online, where's the best place to go?
Yeah, the best place to go if they want to really work with me one-on-one is go to my website, www.spiritualogic.com. So people who want to work with me on coaching, they can go and schedule a call there. Mm-hmm. Or if people who are just interested to want to hear about this idea, they can go to www.masterclass.spiritualogic.com and put in their email and can have access to like a 1 hour 20 minutes of a masterclass on this particular way of philosophy that I have created, for the talk.
Awesome.
And also, I think I am, there is a website called www.podcastgiftnow.com.
Yes.
So listeners can go to that, and if interested, they can watch like 8 or 9 hours of video footages of talks that I have given, professional talks, professional recorded video footages of talks that I have given here in Thailand. Actually, today is my talk day, Saturday.
Okay.
Awesome.
Well, I'll make sure and include all of those when we post. And we'd like to thank you again. We have thoroughly enjoyed it. We wish you the best of days there by the beach.
Yes.
Okay.
We'll wrap up and freeze, but we'll be okay.
Yeah.
We'll be okay.
It was 70 degrees during the day, and it dropped down to 45 in the evening.
That's the warmest we've had
almost
in a while.
Coming to our summer, heading to our spring months here. And this is like...
Where are you guys at?
We are in South Carolina.
Yes.
South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
My sister lived there before, back in the day.
Did she?
In South Carolina, yeah.
We're right on the border of South Carolina and Georgia.
Yep.
And we're from Georgia. We moved over here a few years back, but we both still work in Georgia, so we go back and forth. But
okay, so you go to Georgia.
Nowhere near us looks like what you're sitting.
No. We have to get in the drive.
Because here we are like tropical lands, I guess.
We have to get in the car and drive.
We'd have to drive a long way.
3 hours to get a smidgen close to what you have. But if we want we have to take a flight.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I can imagine that, because in US, the US is like big in scope and land. Just like I kind of hear about all the stories about how sometimes people have houses and they wouldn't see the next neighbor for so much farther away.
Well, we want to thank you.
Thank you for your time, brother. I feel like I have gained another brother from around the world. We will be watching you. We will be studying your program. We will love to keep in contact with you
Of course.
Always.
Feel free to reach out, guys. Whenever you want. Yeah.
We appreciate it. Thank you so much.
It was really beautiful. I appreciate your time, and it was a beautiful co-creation, all of it.
It was.
Thank
it
you
was. Thank you. You take care.
Of course, yeah.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You too, brother Byron.
All right.
Have a nice evening.
All right. You have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Beyond I Do podcast.
Please make sure to like this episode and also subscribe to our podcast. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at the Beyond I Do podcast.
And until next time, we will holler at y'all.